I'm Jen, and today I have a viewer request for a video, which is how do you name and organize your files for your drafts? Anybody who has written anything, has tried to write anything, knows that it's so easy to end up with this massive number of Word documents and files and pictures and all sorts of stuff, and then you can never find the thing that you want. So I'm here today to give you the concept that I have that I use for my files when I'm working on a new novel, so that everything is nice and crystal clear and I know exactly where everything is. I would recommend that you have an entire folder dedicated to your novel, especially if you have more than one project. Make sure you have a folder for each of those, and within those folders have subfolders. So if you use photos for aesthetics, or you have character profiles or things like that, you can organize them in their own separate folders. It's easier to sort through folders when you have more folders. That would be my recommendation for the mass amount of other types of folders. But as far as this video is concerned, we're going to be talking about naming the files for your actual manuscript. There should be 4 parts to any name for your manuscript. It should have your title, your file version, your stage, and your notes. The beginning of any file name you have should start with your title. If you don't have a title yet, use a placeholder name, and you can always go back and change it later. Whatever you're calling it when you talk about it with other people, call it that. Something that you're going to remember. Then you go to the version. Now, this is really important. The version is going to be a number or a date. You can choose between the two. I would recommend doing just a number, because doing dates can start to make the file name get big and kind of clunky looking, and there's already other information we're going to add. So this way it keeps it a bit cleaner, and you can see right from the get-go which version of the document this is. You might already be asking, how does it play into drafting versus editing versus blah, blah, blah. We're getting there. I promise you. This will work for that too. You're going to go in sequential order. So your very first draft, the very first thing you're going to put down the page, you're going to put your title and then a 1. For every subsequent change from there, you're going to change that 1 to a 2 and then a 3. This will keep them perfectly in order, and so you know whichever one has the highest number, that is the most recent copy. And you never have to worry about which one you were working on. Super simple. Then your stage. Your stage is going to vary depending on you and how you break down your process. I typically think of drafting as the first phase, and then revising once I've got a completed draft and I start revising it myself. And I'll go into the editing process. This is when I'm going to have CPs and beta readers and editors, those kinds of people getting involved. So it's not just me anymore. So that's going to be the editing phase. And then we'll have the final phase, which is the final little touch-ups, proofreading, that sort of thing. That's how I typically do them, but you might have different labels for yours, so just use whatever works for you. And then the 4th one is any notable notes that you might have, anything specific that you want to remember about this particular file. This one is not going to be on every single one of your files, because you're not going to need it on every single file. It's just there as a placeholder just in case. For me, I would use this as something, especially once I've gone into the editing phase where other people are getting involved. I might write down in this section, beta reader draft or CP draft. So I can differentiate, this is the draft that I sent to these people, because maybe I want to send my beta readers the full manuscript, but I don't want to send them the acknowledgements. But I want my CP to look at my acknowledgements because they're checking for spelling and grammar and that sort of thing. And if you're traditionally publishing, if you've sent out manuscripts to agents to try and get representation, then you can mark something in that notes section. So then you might put first round queries, second round queries, so that each agent that you do, if you do tweaks in between each of your rounds of agents that you're querying, you can make those little differentiations and still have all of the background too. Between each of those items, you're gonna have a dot, a dash, or an underscore. I don't really care which. I think that it looks a little cleaner to have an underscore or a dot because it's not in line with the text, but it also means I don't have to hold down shift if I want to do a dash. and that's fine. Most operating systems don't really care, but usually if you do one of those three things, you'll be fine. So to give you a visual, I am currently working on a project called Frigid Fever. So what would that look like? It would look something like this. So Frigid Fever, second version, stage is drafting, and I don't have any notes because I don't currently have any notes yet. There you have it. One more thing I would recommend is to have in your manuscript folder, have a folder called Archives. If you do a lot of changes or you're working on this over time, you will have those version numbers to keep it straight so you can see the correct order. But you can end up with a lot of different files, and then it's really hard to read anyway because you're going through all of this clutter. What I would recommend is once you stop working on a particular version, put that in the archive folder. You don't want to get rid of it because you might need something out of it later on, and it's fine. It's just getting stored on your computer, so go ahead and just move it over there. But I would recommend only having a few drafts out in your main manuscript folder. The rest of them should be in archives. If you're not touching them, you don't need to be looking at them every time you open your folder. That can be overwhelming, and it's just not necessary. So there you have it. That is the way that I store my files so that I can always find what I'm looking for. I just want to say thank you to Libikova for asking for this video. It was a lot of fun to make, and it really made me think about my process and how I sort these files. So if you have a recommendation for a video, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. So that's all I've got today. I will see you next time. Bye.